update on Andrew Cobb at this point?
Yeah, Andrew won't make the trip. We'll know a lot more tomorrow. At this point, it looks like it'll be a little longer term than what we anticipated, but we'll know more tomorrow.
And Rasmussen, any further?
Ras won't make the trip. He's listed as day-to-day.
How much of a loss, well, especially Compher, Todd? I mean, down, like you said that the other day, down the middle, you're starting to lose people there as far as that goes.
Yeah, but the unfortunate thing for one leads to opportunity for the other. Cliche, coach is going to say that. That's just what we do. But that's the truth. We have what we have, and we have enough. I thought JT played one of his better games in a long time, at least since his injury. Joey moved up and seemed to get better with more minutes, which is a good sign. And then we'll piecemeal other things together to get by. We have Casp as a potential center. I really like where he is, and I like what he's doing right now. And Larks and Razor, yeah, they've gone and their gas tanks are empty, but that's done now. They've had their rest, and they'll play tomorrow. Then they'll have Wednesday off, a mandatory day, and then we're right back at it. They'll be comfortable. But Cass has given them some good legs on that line. We'd like to keep them there. So, are we, losing two centers? Not ideal, but we'll make it work.
How do you know when a young guy like that is ready to play? I'm sure everyone would love to play with Dylan and Lucas, but how do you know when a guy's ready to play that role for them?
You don't. You know what? We've tried different players there. I think I've talked about that with Logan Couture in San Jose, Quentin Byfield in LA. Sometimes those younger players need to go up and just play and see if they can fit, and they need to give themselves permission to belong there. If they're intimidated or if they feel like they have to defer to the other two players, then it never works. And they often show you that or tell you that right away by their actions or inactions. Casp, Logan, Q in LA, none of those guys deferred. They played their games, and it's worked well for all three of them.
Is there a bit of, with Marco, is there a bit of the curiosity though of you said at some point he's going to be inside, right? Like, is it something where when this becomes a natural opportunity?
Yeah, we'll get there eventually, and there is that curiosity if he can drive his own his own line through the middle. But we also have to take into consideration where we are and what we're chasing and what we're doing, and his effect on two other players that play a ton of minutes and are very good hockey players, and vice versa. So there's a lot of things to consider. We'll worry about tomorrow in Minnesota, and the next day sun will come up and we'll figure out where we are again.
You said you liked JT's game last night, Todd. What do you?
Thought he skated last night. And, I've been using that word a little bit, but when JT is not skating as much, he just plays in the middle of the rink. He was getting to corners and back into the middle of the rink. He was in on the forecheck. He was creating turnovers. He was defending well. He played an authoritative type game instead of a safe game, and I thought it was, as I said, his best night in a while, or at least since the injury. Maybe he's got that mojo or the confidence back.
What sorts of things have contributed to the consistency of DeBrincat's offense since you've been here?
Well, he's competitive, and he has an uncanny knack of stick handling in traffic and getting off a quick, accurate, hard shot. He's not deferring to anybody else. He sees a spot, he's taking it. We've promoted that a little bit about being direct and using the goaltender as a tool for us, whether it's rebounds or creating some chaos around the net, and he's grasped that. Not that he ever had to be pushed. He's always been a shooter. Power play's been going well, and he's a huge part of it. So he's been very consistent. We're very fortunate to have him the way he's playing right now.
Are there any players for you that have become more shooters that maybe you didn't expect when you guys have kind of pushed that across?
More shooters, is that?
You talked about Alex always being a shooter. It's not something you had to push him.
Yep.
Like, is there anyone in this group where maybe you didn't know that would be something that they would buy into so quickly as you kind of, now that you've been working with them since?
Well, it's been a general team approach, and our group had bought into it quickly, and then you have a tendency to go back to who you were before, and you have to keep being reminded, and we tend to get momentum swings our way when we play a certain type of hockey. So individually, not so much, but collectively, the buy-in's been good, but the carrot, if you will, is usually there, and it's easy to promote. I don't know if I answered your question. I went rambling, but it was more about a group than a player.
What type of intel do you get out of Sheldon when he comes up? Another guy that will be new to you, and
Yeah, well, not necessarily new to us. So Sheldon played in Vancouver. We played him enough over the years, and this stage isn't. I'm sure he's excited about being in the NHL again and stuff, but this isn't his first stop. It's not a stage he hasn't been on before. He knows what to feel and expect when he goes into a lineup and into arenas. We're not flying his parents in for the first game and all that type of stuff that goes on. He's well established, and we have a good idea of what he's been doing in Grand Rapids. And now it's a matter of how we want our lineup to look on any given night. Ras could be back quickly. So is it a full-time or a part-time thing for him? I don't know, but we've called guys up before, and they've taken advantage of somebody else's misfortune, and they're still here. So anything can happen.
How important are those types of guys in an organization, Todd? Those guys you can just plug in from minors like that.
Well,
who have experience.
Yeah, those are. We're seeing it right now. It's hard to train. Everybody wants the young player coming up and getting his first game is great, shiner. But there's still a different element of excitement and nervousness and experience than Sheldon. And they're both important, because sometimes the first game guy can give the team a boost and everybody's excited for him. Then there's other nights where an established player that's been around and done this before is needed as well. So they both can benefit you.
You talked last night just about obviously needing to be better defending 6-on-5. Just the main differences as far as mindset, 6-on-5 as opposed to a regular penalty kill 5-on-4. Is there any?
Well, not necessarily a lot different. The 6-on-5 scenario is it's all straightforward, and I'm talking about the 6. You get possession, they're coming right after you. They don't give a rat's about the other end, because if you get it past, you're scoring. On the power play, when they're playing in that situation, they do care what happens going the other way, so they're a little more tentative. But 6-on-5, you get possession, they're coming right at you. You have no time, no space, and you have to understand there's a difference there. Positionally, there's a few different things. They can usually outnumber you near the net or around the net. And then, from a structure perspective from our end, there's a few things that we do differently. We've met about them again today. So we'll try and be much better in those situations.
When you looked at video last night, Todd, what did you see? I mean, was it a little bit of, like you said, the experience and the poise, maybe a little bit?
Yeah, like I was able to evaluate those whole 4 minutes. We started with an icing, and we talked about it last night. We had guys on for 1:10. So, boom, all of a sudden you're in your own zone, you're tired, and out comes their 6 best players. We win the draw, send it down, miss the open net. Okay, that's not the end of the world, because actually while that's happening, we get to rest a little bit. We did it again and shot it down. Well, now we're rested. We're actually in a pretty good situation where the players on the ice are rested. We get the puck out of our zone. We end up in the neutral zone. I think Vladdy took a spin attempt, and it was blocked near the net front. Maybe if we had distributed that, we're on the other side of the red line, we would have had a better angle at the net. Who knows? They're playing, and things are happening real fast. But the goals against, the one that we weren't in the shooting lane at the top, we weren't in the shooting lane at the net, and we weren't in the shooting lane in the crease with the goalie pads on. So That one squeaked in, and that one I think we can fix. A second backhand one, I think we can fix. So those are scenarios that that can be fixed. What's not talked about, what you guys haven't asked me, is the 2-on-1s and the shorthanded breakaway. We had 3 2-on-1s or 4 2-on-1s. We hit post. JT had a shorthanded breakaway earlier in the game. If it gets to 5-2, they're not even pulling their goalie, and that solves everything. But we haven't been able to get it to 5-2 against Minnesota. We haven't been able to get it 5-2 against Anaheim with multiple chances. So that comes into play as well.
You guys just played Minnesota on Saturday. What stood out to you from the way that they play in key
I think they're
series
a
tomorrow?
real solid team. Real solid team. You put Kaprizov and a couple of their other injured players back into their lineup. That's a real solid contending team. They check well. They don't give you very much. I think they're very well coached. They're organized. They can be physical. They can be skilled. But they're real good in the offensive zone of spreading things out and then attacking the net. And they're a load to handle. They got some big bodies and some D-men that can get their pucks through to the net and create chaos.
Do you want your team to be aggressive when it comes to shooting at the empty net? Because there's a line there, right?
There's a line. So you have to manage the situation. I've been asked this multiple times today. Know the moments. So that first icing, I think it was Simon maybe or somebody, that I have no problem with that, because if you miss the net, you're buying us time to breathe. And nobody really thinks about that. The second one, even there, you miss the net, we have time to breathe. I know it's coming back into our end, but should we not shoot at that and we start flubbing it around in our net, we could be in there for another minute anyhow and can't breathe. So that game management was fine by me. What I don't want is players coming down, and I think we had this, I believe it was against Pittsburgh, maybe an empty netter, where we come down and we're going to make 6 fancy passes when the net's open right there and all you have to do is shoot it in. When I first got here, Razor passed it off to Larks so Larks could get off to Schneid and everything was fine. I know that happens, but one little tick and it's coming back the other way. If you have the open net, shoot it. You're not selfish. We don't have to worry about teammates in that case. Put it in, seal the win, and let's move on. Though that is important to me. But if you're going to take a shot at an open net, just don't throw the football all the way across the field so it can get picked off 6 or 7 times while it's happening. Make sure your angle is a smart one. And ours were last night. There weren't any high-risk ones.
Dries play tomorrow? Have you decided?
We haven't decided yet. We got to take a look at the lineup and how we want to put it together. Good.
Thanks,
Okay.
man.
Yeah.